Today's guest is a very talented young actress finally getting well-deserved attention for her role as a sweet African girl in the Book of Mormon. Please welcome 2011 Tony nominee, Nikki M. James.
Yes.
And you have your little Tony.
Of course.
Your Tony magnet.
Yeah, that way you don't have to put clothes in all of your beautiful clothes. At first, when they came at me with the pin, I was so excited, but she said, "Don't worry, we won't poke a hole in your silk dress." I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, but it's smart.
You know, I have to tell you, every year there are one or two people who get nominated for the first time, and they're people that I really love in the community who I think are so talented that finally get their moment, and you're that person this year.
Yay!
Because, you know, I've been watching you do amazing work for, you know, the last 10 years. So how does this feel for you? I mean, you're definitely a big part of the community.
Yeah.
You kind of work nonstop, and you have such a great eclectic resume. So how does it feel for you to be at this moment?
It feels like my birthday every day, you know? Like, it's the most exciting thing. And I've been asked that question a number of times in the past, 2 weeks since the nominations come out, and I still have yet to find the correct way to describe what this feeling is, because it's both, just awe and sort of shock on my part, being like, really? I've never anticipated that I would be here. And then there's that other part of you that's just like, yes, 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 yes. Like, finally, like, there's a little bit of, you feel like you finally arrived, I guess is the way you can describe it.
Yeah, so you grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And now you talk about being sort of this crazy, were you one of these, there are crazy Broadway fans? You didn't really have the internet quite so much.
We didn't, well, okay, so I fell in love with musical theater probably around like third grade, and I was in love with anything Andrew Lloyd Webber. Anything he wrote, anything he did. I saw every show, and I was able to come in and do TKTS and do those little half-price ticket booth with my parents. Right around the time I was 13 and 14, I started writing a lot of letters and getting a lot of signed headshots. And Rent opened in '95, and I became a big, huge super fan of Rent. I slept on the street. I've seen the show a bazillion times.
You were in the front row a bunch of times.
Yes, I am an official and unembarrassed, and I'm not at all embarrassed to admit that I am an official Rent head. And so yeah, I was a super fan. And I have a lot of friends in my life who are people who I met through sort of that kind of fan community and the little fledgling online thing. But it's nothing like it is today, which those people scare me now as I'm being on the other side of it. So, and not scare me, make me uncomfortable, scare me like I can't read them because I'm afraid they won't like me or something. So I have to avoid those websites now, other than yours, obviously.
I also did the write letters thing for headshots. What was sort of the best one you got in the mail that you sort of freaked out?
Audra McDonald, obviously, when she was doing Carousel. That was a big coup for me. And Jody
that was a great production.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I was young at the time, and I remember loving how colorful it was. Because when you're doing community theater and high school theater, you sort of get cast based on who can actually, do the work, and you have a limited pool. So I played Scrooge in a production of The Christmas Carol when I was in 8th grade.
How'd that go?
I was fabulous with age lines and grayed out hair and stuff. Yeah, so I think that I loved seeing that production. And then the other big one for me was Jodie Benson, who voiced Ariel when she was doing
Crazy for You.
Crazy for You.
Right. So people must now write to you asking you for your headshot. So how's that feel to sort of be on the other side of it? I mean, the Book of Mormon has blown up in the last month or two. So what are the fans like? What is this? How's this going for you?
Our fans are older than I was when I was a fan, and probably because the subject matter is not necessarily for the 13-year-old mind. But I get a lot of letters from former Mormons, actually, sending letters saying, we really appreciate your show, and I love your sense of humor. And so it's been, our fans have been really smart, and they've taught us a lot about, sort of the subject matter that we're dealing with over there.
What was your first audition like for the Book of Mormon?
Well, I didn't in fact, audition.
Stephen Remus. I know you had worked with.
Yeah,
Stephen
I'd worked
Remus
with Stephen Remus on All
Shook
Shook Up. That's right. Good memory. And
well, you were great in All Shook
oh,
Up. That was actually one of the first times I was like, "Who is this girl?"
I love that show. I love that show, and I'm glad that it's now having a life in regional theaters around the country because I think it's a really wonderful show and great to do in communities too. I did an audition. I got a call, and Stephen and I had worked with Stephen, but also Bobby Lopez and I had worked together tangentially in 1994. I got my equity card doing a reading of a show at Playwrights Horizons.
Oh, wow.
And Bobby was an intern at the time. And so he remembered me and had seen my work. And so actually it was Bobby who suggested me for the part. And we were just doing a little reading, and I came in. And now, 2.5 years later, I'm a Tony nominee.
Was the stuff in the reading, is a lot of that in the show now?
Yeah, a lot of the first 20 or so minutes of the show are pretty intact, and were intact at that reading. We didn't have a second act script to speak of for the first 5 or 6 days, and we had signed confidentiality agreements, prohibiting us from discussing what was happening in the room, which made it feel, it was really cool to be secretive about something, and you understood. We really got it. We're doing something that's really different, and anybody who's seen it knows that, there are some curse words and there's some sort of, iffy subject matter, and I think
more than a few.
Yeah, yeah, and I think our creators really wanted to feel protected, that they could make mistakes without the public sort of finding out what we were doing. And reacting sort of with a knee-jerk reaction without knowing everything in context. But I was shocked. When I first heard Hasa Diga Ibo, I was thankful that I wasn't the person who had to sing it, who had to sing lead. I remember being surprised. And then once it was all put together, I was totally on board. And I knew then it was going to be a really important piece of American musical theater. And I'm glad that it was able to have this life.
Were there any moments when you hear things, like I actually heard some of the content before I saw the show, when you hear it, you go, wow, how is that going to be? I mean, were you terrified at any point?
Yeah.
Being an African-American actress, and obviously it's about a bunch of Mormons and an African community, and about AIDS and pedophilia. I mean, there's crazy topics in the show. So were there any moments where you said, wait, I hope this is going to go right?
Yeah. Well, that number, Hasadiga Iboi, was...
Which basically means F you, God.
Yes, in nonsense language. We were scared. And the first reading is in a room that was lit as brightly as this, and the audience was as far away from us as you are to me right now. And we were worried. And the audience was worried too. You could feel them sort of go back in their chairs, and then you would see hands come up to mouths, and then they would laugh, once you get there. But at first, you really are, it takes you by surprise.
Now, even though now it has great reviews, has Tony nominations, you still are every night in front of a new group of people. So is there ever still sort of an element of like, how are they going to react?
Yes, and I particularly have that second act number, the Small House of Uncle Thomas, sort of send up, the King and I homage, the pageant, and that's a direct address. So I am looking at the audience. The audience in the theater is my character's audience in her village, and for the first 4 weeks probably I had trouble actually looking at people and making connection. I'm getting braver, and I think it's more fun. And you know what? There's no reason not to go balls out. We're gonna do it. You might as well do it.
I forgot you were in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. You actually made your Broadway debut.
I never forget that.
Well, you don't.
No.
I remember the set. It was kind of an IKEA set. It looked kind of like bleached wood.
Yeah.
And I do remember you in it now. What was that experience like? I know you were right out of school. I
wasn't even out of school. I took a semester off.
Okay.
I called The Adventures of Tom Sawyer 2001 my semester abroad, because we started rehearsals in January and by May we were closed.
Right.
It's a really bittersweet experience because I learned so much and I was so excited to be able to be on a Broadway stage. I was young and I remember loving looking at that marquee and seeing my name and having a dressing room and sharing a dressing room and having my little name above the mirrors. It was so exciting and then really sad. It was really sad for us that we weren't a big success, and I made some lifelong friends. And looking back on it, I think it's the best way to have experienced my first time on Broadway. Not every show is going to be the Book of Mormon. I mean, almost no shows get to be the Book of Mormon, and there was humility there. And but I actually think it was a pretty good little show.
So I know that you said you were sort of a real fan as a kid, but what started it? Do you know?
There are two moments that cemented my future. The first was my kindergarten teacher randomly assigning me the task of singing The Greatest Love of All at my kindergarten graduation. And I don't think anybody knew I had musical talents or any at that point.
So why you?
I'm not sure. I probably talked too much or was very theatrical. I don't know. I don't know why she chose, like she could have easily given me the task of, counting heads. I don't know. And so that was it. And my parents were sitting in the audience and my dad said he knew. And my dad was a singer, not professionally, but
wow.
He had a great singing voice and sang a lot and wrote songs for us and stuff. So he knew. And then the next was later that year, my parents took me to see Cats. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I wanted to do that and I wanted to be a part of it and I wanted to see shows all the time. Now,
you lost your dad in high school,
yeah, I did.
And you just said your dad was a singer, so obviously he must have been an influence on you in that sense. What did that do to you?
I was 17. It was 1 month before my 18th birthday, and I was just about to graduate from high school. And he got sick suddenly. He had an aneurysm, so it wasn't something that any of us were prepared for. And I was about to be going off to college, and
you knew you were going to NYU?
Yeah, I had been accepted to NYU, and at first I thought, NYU is not an inexpensive education. And I had a moment where I thought maybe I was being irresponsible, my mother now having to shoulder the cost of sending me to university on her own, and studying something that may or may not pan out as a, career path. And, but I remember my mom saying that I should follow my dreams because that's what my father would have wanted. And the one thing that it did it affected me in a very weird way where I felt angry. I was mad at the world, and that manifested itself in my work. I was really guarded. And so my first year at school at NYU was a lot of breaking down some of those defense mechanisms that you build up and to not feel sadness. So like my first year of acting school was learning how to be an actor, but also learning how to become a grown-up with this new life, and I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And then the other benefit is I get my very own guardian angel. So I guarantee you he's on stage every night, probably taking tons of pictures. My dad was he was that dad who would run down the aisle at the school concerts and like take tons of pictures, and all the pictures are other people smiling at me being like, "Oh, Dad, you're embarrassing me." But I'm grateful for the sacrifices that my family made to allow me to achieve my dreams, and also the support that they gave me and their belief in me that keeps me going.
You've done the Stratford Shakespeare Festival.
Yeah.
You've done, and people, for a musical, you're mostly seen as a musical theater actress in New York, but talk about the roles you've done up there.
Well, in 2008 I did Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I played Juliet, and I did Caesar and Cleopatra, which is Shaw. And I played Cleopatra. It was the greatest year of my life.
Wow.
artistically, and very scary. And the best testament to the work that I did up there was at the end of the season, we were packing up another actor it's a rep company, which is really neat.
Yeah.
So I was doing those 2 shows at the same time, but also sharing the stage with 3 other Shakespeare plays. So at any moment of any day, 2 shows a day, 6 days a week, there was a production happening on that stage. It's a really exciting thing to be a part of. Another actor came up to me and said, "You sing?" And I said, "Yeah."
It's hilarious.
I sing. That's what I do.
The 2 careers of Nikki James.
So now I'm an actress who sings, I guess.
The moment where I realized, I loved you in All Shook Up, but the moment that I realized you were actually a brilliant actress was in Bernarda Alba.
Yeah.
Bernarda Alba at Lincoln Center. I mean, that Michael John Latruza, am I saying it right?
Lacusa.
Michael John Latruza's Bernarda Alba.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of his, and I always say his name wrong. You were amazing in that show.
Thank you.
I mean, I remember watching it and just thinking, like, she should win a Tony Award for this.
Oh, gosh.
It was an incredible performance.
Thanks.
So I guess you do sort of have moments to show that other side, but
Yeah, and you do what the role, you know what, you do what roles and jobs you think are interesting. Hopefully you get to do stuff that you think are interesting, and then who cares if you're singing or acting or otherwise. It's about embodying these beautiful characters, and I'm really lucky. The girls, women I've played in the past 5 years go from, I did Dorothy in The Wiz, and that's a different thing than Cleo, who is this queen, and Juliet, and then Adela and Bernarda Alba, which is this dark play, and then no hope. There's no hope there. In fact, she kills herself at the end. There's no, she doesn't think there's any other, there's nothing. And then Nabulungi, who is just all hope and optimism. So I'm a lucky girl.
So I'm going to tell everyone you're turning 30.
Oh, gosh.
Right before the Tony Awards.
Yes.
So is turning 30 something you freaked out about? And is it easier to turn 30 with a Tony nomination pin on?
Yeah, it totally is, because I can't even think about someone asked me what I was doing for my birthday, and I said, I can't think about that. I have other things to do between now and then. So I'm not having a party. On the day that I turn 30, I'll do 1 show at the Book of Mormon, and I'll go to sleep, and the next morning I'll wake up and do 2 the next day. So yes, and a Tony nomination is a very nice birthday gift. Yeah. So no need to go shopping for flowers or anything like that. I'm good this year.
So now your category, one thing I noticed, I was looking at your category, featured actress in a musical, there's 3 Jersey girls.
Oh yeah, Laura Benanti.
Very Jersey-licious.
Myself and Tanny Blanchard. Oh really? I didn't actually know that. But Laura and I have a weird little thing in
You grew up
common.
near the paper mill.
Yeah, we both
She
were.
was like a paper mill star.
Yeah, and I was a rising star as well.
Oh, you were both in that program?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Stars. So,
I guess the program works.
Yeah, right? I mean, or there's something in the water over at Jersey, because our musical director is also from Livingston, New Jersey, Stephen Aremus.
Right.
So there's a lot of Jersey blood.
So the 3 Jersey girls are going to pull off the earrings?
Yeah,
and
that's
go
right,
at it
and grease up our faces. I don't think so. We'll all be in too fancy of a dress to want to fight.
So is it nice to look at? I mean, obviously, I like Patti LuPone.
Yeah,
Vicky
my category
Clark.
is insane.
Yeah, it's a nice group of women.
Yeah, the most talented people there are. They're incredible. So yeah, I feel humbled and terrified. I can't imagine why anyone would choose me over them, but I'm happy. It's an honor. It really is. It honestly is an honor to be nominated. I think that is is an amazing gift.
Well, I'm so thrilled for you.
Oh, thanks.
And I can't wait to see you on the Tony Awards.
Thanks.
Are you going to look all glammed up?
I'm going to be in an incredible dress, yet to be chosen, and I'm excited. I'm taking my mom as my date, and we're going shopping, and she'll have a beautiful gown, and it's going to be a really fun night, I think. I've never been to the Tonys ever.
Wow.
So this will be my first time going. Win, lose, or draw, this is the best year of my life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks.
It's great to have you.
Of course. Anytime.
We'll see you on the Tonys.
That's right.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.